Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us today, depending on where you're joining us from. Thank you all so much for taking the time in your busy schedules to tune in live to our webinar today. My name is Marina, and I'm the Solutions Marketing Manager here at Contentstack, and I will be your host for this webinar. Contentstack is the leading composable digital experience platform powered by the #1 headless CMS. And whilst I'd love to tell you all about Contentstack, that is not quite why we're here today. You'll hear all about our solutions from our wonderful speakers. Before we start, some quick housekeeping. You'll find that we have muted all the lines because we are quite crowded here. So please don't take that personally. We're very interested in your thoughts and questions, and we ask that you ask them via the question box in your control panel. You can find that at the very bottom of your screen. I will also potentially bring up those questions at the end of the presentation should we have time during our Q&A portion. If you experience any technical difficulties, we're here to help. We are recording this webinar, so we invite you all to be present and enjoy, and we'll be sending the recording out shortly after. But for now, let's go ahead and get started. Today's topic is global reach and local feel, and we're going to hear about how Icelandair drives loyalty and maximizes their ROI. I'm very happy to introduce you to our two speakers, starting with Jasmine. Jasmine, in addition to leading Contentstack's brand and corporate voice, she is a Women in Mock Achievement Award winner with more than 10 years of experience. She has been instrumental in driving forward the agenda of the Mock Alliance since its infancy and recently took on the role of vice president and executive board member. And she really truly empowers brands to adopt their best of breed enterprise technology systems. So we're super excited to have Jasmine joining us today. And then additionally, I'd love to introduce you to Edvardes, also known as Eddie, our guest from Icelandair. Eddie is the content team lead at Icelandair with over 10 years of experience in content management and copywriting. Eddie's background is in web communication and information management, and he's worked in various areas such as PR, corporate communications, conference organization, and even translating for the European Parliament. In recent years, his focus has shifted towards user experience, which goes hand in hand with his current role in leading a team of the content creatives at Icelandair. Without further ado, we'll get into today's agenda. We will begin by setting the stage with the state of today's travel industry. Then we'll talk about how localization elevates the customer experience, how orchestrating content can help to maximize customer engagement. And then we'll hear from Eddie directly on how Icelandair leverages Contentstack's composable DXP. And then with any time remaining, we'll leave some time for questions and answers from our speakers. Without further ado, I will pass the microphone to Jasmine.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Marina. Appreciate the introductions, all the kind words. I'm sure Edvards feels the same. It's always such a pleasure to have a conversation. We met first on our podcast, which is called People Changing Enterprises. And that's exactly what Eddie and his team have done at Icelandair. So we'll get to that in a brief second, but what I wanted to do briefly is set the scene for all of us in terms of the state of digital travel today. Because that is, as you all know, a fantastic opportunity, but it's also freaking hard, right? If done right, there's a lot to gain, but if done wrong, there's a lot to lose. I'm sorry. And the way we interact with global audiences has gone through a major makeover. Digital revolution, a pandemic that happened, traffic numbers already up to or even surpassing the levels that they used to have before that thing called COVID happened. And something that is very peculiar to the airline industry and travel in general is 73% of customers actually prefer to buy from websites that speak their language. So that is super, super important to keep in mind. And the digital travel market is predicted to increase to over 1.2 trillion by 2027. Let me say that again, $1.2 trillion by 2027.
These are big
So
numbers.
if we want to talk opportunity that's big, see Eddie's shaking his head. Can you believe that that is the size opportunity that we're talking about?
That's incredible.
Yeah, and you're right smack in the middle. So let's take a look at travel today. What are the current challenges for digital travel? And I really want to do a call out 3 things. The first is it's lagging adaptability. So if you are on a monolithic architecture, and we'll explain in a moment what that means, very likely that you're having a hard time getting where you want to be going, both in a technical and in a literal sense, now that we're talking travel, right? And then the second thing is lack of personalization. How many times, look at yourself as the customer, how many times have you gone to a website and you haven't found what you've been looking for? There is no personalization. It's just not for you because it's not individualized. It's just a one size fits all kind of approach. And then lastly, not lastly, but last for us today, operational complexity. The technology that is behind what you put out in front of a customer is the root cause for many of the ailments that we experience as customers today, because it doesn't let you adapt to evolving market trends fast enough, or maybe at all. You have to put in a ticket for a system change that it may or may not happen because you bought something out of the box and the seller has little interest to customize it for you because you're just one in a sea of many that have wishes. Not the greatest position to be in. The good news is there is hope, and not just hope, there's a way out. And we'll get to Eddie in a second, and he can tell you a lot about what you need to, not what you need to do, but where you can start and how you can take baby steps to start heading in the right direction. Before we do that, let's look at some key drivers for that change. So if you want to create memorable experiences that keep your customers coming back and wanting more, there's a few things that you have to keep in mind. And they're all beautifully lined up here from left to right. So the first thing, and I think that's becoming increasingly important, is customer expectations. Not just meeting your customers' expectations, but exceeding them. Keeping up with the trends, not just keeping up with them, but actually pleasantly surprising the person that comes to your website or whatever channel it is that they're using. And then there is competitive pressure. And Eddie can tell us a lot about that, right? How many competitors would you say Icelandair has?
Oh, many, but direct, like I would say around 20, at least 20 airlines that we are in direct competition with. 20 plus maybe. Yeah, the number keeps on changing every season, but it's a harsh competition. So yeah, it keeps us on our toes for sure.
Oh, for sure. And then there's technological advancements. So, you know, whatever is modern today is old tomorrow or outdated, or can be remodeled, or should be remodeled, or should be replaced. You just don't know. And there's the speed at which technology is increasing is ever faster. Cost efficiencies are a huge topic as well. So, you know, and I think we all feel the pressure of that. A dollar that you spend has to give you return. And that's becoming increasingly critical.
But that's just classic in any business. Sorry to interrupt.
Right?
Yeah,
No.
We're always under that pressure to, you know, to make the most out of our buck. And yeah, that's the pressure.
Yeah, totally. And I think we all feel that these days because there is so much more pressure, because money is not as easy to come by. Not that it was ever easy, but with you know, increasing interest rates and an economic environment that is not super positive, let's phrase it, positively, but still challenging. You probably spend a lot more time really making sure that that dollar that you invest is worth your time and your resources and your money, quite literally. And last but not least, time to market. And I think that's a super important factor for Icelandair as well. If it takes long, if you have a spreadsheet for your translations where somebody has to go in manually and copy and paste what needs to be updated on a website, ooh, that's a tough one, right?
Yeah, definitely. Time to market is probably the one element that hits closest to home for us in the content world. If content updates, if they take a long time, if it's a time-consuming process, it just simply doesn't work. Having irrelevant and or outdated content just negatively affects your customer digital experience, and this is what we want to avoid. So definitely, this is a very important factor.
Fantastic. And it's so impressive. I know what you guys have done at Icelandair and the transition that you've made. What got you started in the first place?
I think there were many different reasons, but mostly, I guess, changing, realizing that the customer expectations have changed. And of course, technology, we saw that our legacy CMS just couldn't keep up with the demands that we saw and the business needs that we had at the time. So I think there were different reasons that came together. And then, of course, the always under pressure content team not being able to deliver timely or just drowning, as you said. I'll elaborate on that one a bit more afterwards, but like just drowning in spreadsheets and endless backlog issues. That was the decision that pushed towards the shift.
Yeah, and I so hear you. And aren't we all familiar with that feeling? I think everybody at some point, and most of us have recently been asked to do more with less. So, very, very timely conversation. One more thing for context, let's look at a definition of what composable technology is, because we do want to, you've already heard monolith and you're hearing composable. I'd love to spend a minute just providing a little bit of clarity or context for the folks that are in the audience and that may not be as familiar with the terms that we're using here. So what is composable technology? And the term's been floating around, but there's a lot of different words that are being used and they mean different things to different people. So what we mean in this context is composable technology, in our definition, delivers next generation digital experiences. And how does it do that? It seamlessly connects best of breed elements to create a bespoke tech stack that solves for exactly your business problems, not the business problems of your neighbor, not the business problems of your competitor, not the business problems of some other department. It is specifically built to solve your unique business problems. And it's built based on MACH principles. Now, what the heck does that mean? MACH is, hold on to your seats, it's only 4 letters, so you can do this. MACH is microservices based, API first, cloud native, and headless. So those are the 4 key differentiators that you look for in a tech stack to be MACH compliant and fully composable. And now why would you care? If I'm a business and I'm not the CTO, why would I care about my tech stack sort of meeting those criteria? Very straightforward. It allows you to be extremely flexible and extremely fast. You can build your tech stack in exactly the way that you need it, using the very best solutions for the problems that you're trying to solve. Because of API first, they all speak to each other in the same language. so to speak, and you can make sure that they all draw from the same sources or that they draw from different sources. So it's very bespoke, and it will enable you to show exactly the data that you need to be shown in a specific space at the right time with the right background. You can scale so much easier because it's cloud native. So something like Black Friday, if we want to take a quick detour into retail, no longer is an issue. Peak traffic in the cloud is not an issue. It's not on-prem server. So you can have as little or as much traffic as you'd like. It's not going to be a problem. And if you really want to, and to me, that is almost the most important thing. It is the most important thing. It future-proofs your business. And why is that? Eddie, do you know what your business is going to need in 3 or 5 years from now?
Oh, well, we all make plans, we all make projections, but it's really difficult to know for sure what the whole picture will look like. So yeah, we just know that it will keep on changing, and we need to be ready for that.
See, and that's a brilliant, that's exactly the thing. Nobody knows. And anybody who tells you they know is lying. So don't believe whoever tells you that. Nobody knows what you're going to need. Nobody knows what's going to be the next hot trending thing that you need to absolutely have. I mean, if 5 years ago, would you have guessed that AI would have become a core component of all of our content? That was out of the question. Nobody predicted COVID either, and the digital transformation that spurred. So that is what a composable technology stack allows you to do. Because of the microservices based and API first nature, you can attach and detach at your leisure, because nothing is permanent in all senses of all the words just used. So it gives you exactly the flexibility. You're not sold into a closed system that is not changeable. You can attach and detach components as you see fit.
And I
And
think
that
it
really
brings
is
that,
the brilliance. Yeah.
sorry to jump in, but I think it brings in that element of agility to
Mhm.
react to the change and notice the opportunity and adapt to it. So I think that is a very strong factor in all this concept.
Absolutely agreed. Let's dive into the global and local aspect, because that's really how we lured you guys in here.
That's right. That's right.
Right. So we already talked about, I sort of preempted this because I find it so intriguing. To me, English, and to you, Eddie, I know as well, English is our sort of second native language almost, but most people, 3/4 of people aren't like that. They want to go onto a website, and for Icelandair, it's even more specific. It's Icelandic, of course. And that is just one of how many languages that you're servicing?
12.
Wow. Ooh, can you imagine the complexity? Across how many pages of web?
Oh,
Roughly.
yeah. A lot.
Millions.
I don't have the number. I think, yeah, and
Yeah.
it is growing. It's constantly growing. So yeah, it's a lot of content. Let's just leave it into this
Absolutely.
undefinable number for this webinar.
Yeah, huge, huge. And that's not an exaggeration. Everybody who works in content knows that. Let's have a look at the core themes that are driving growth and why it's so important to anticipate customers' needs. And then we'll let Eddie explain what he and his team have done at Icelandair specifically. So there's really 3 themes that we see time and time and time again. It's customer experience. We already briefly touched on that. So, a better experience, a different experience, an experience that sticks and keeps your customer coming back for more really requires a lot. Personalization, seamless navigation, responsive design, local language. So, there's a lot of individual components that fed into that. Omnichannel integration, super important, because it's not as black and white as it used to be 10 years ago, where you had a store and maybe an online shop, but that was it. The landscape is ever evolving. There's new channels popping up all the time. Where do you need to be? Where do you want to be? How do you meet your customer where they are, and trying to help them navigate along the journey? And then last but not least, data-driven decisions. So what is the data set that you need to want to look at? Is the data fresh? Is the data in the right place at the right time? Because only that will enable you to make the best possible decision. And you really want your data to be smart too. Again, where AI comes in many of the cases these days, which is super helpful and enables you to actually make better decisions. And now with that, let's have a look at specifically how you guys at Icelandair have gone about a few of these. Eddie, super curious to just hear from you, from your experience. How does it work? Why is localization so important for you and your customer experience?
Yeah, so maybe let's just start on these kind of more general notes. Like if executed properly, localization can add that crucial personal touch to your content, and I'd say it shows that you as a brand care about your customers, how they interact to you. You hear what language they use to communicate to you, and it shows your willingness to engage with your customers in the language that they use. Yeah, for example, a company not providing localized information about its products to a language-sensitive market, let's call it so, will most likely send a message of just simply insensitivity. For example, in Iceland, where Icelandic is the spoken language, it's almost a given standard for any company entering the Icelandic market to offer their services and information about their brand, about themselves in Icelandic. Otherwise, it would just feel as they couldn't have just been bothered to translate it for the locals and make that extra effort. So yeah, I guess it's all about caring about your customer and not just making that one-off sell and that's it. It's just going an extra mile. But maybe
yeah, and I find that so interesting because you get right to the emotion, right? It makes you feel unseen or unheard. If it's done poorly, it actually drives the customer away.
It can have a completely opposite effect. So
yes, and we just funny enough, I met a person from Iceland. I hope that's the right way to say it. In the US the other week, and he said, well, I can tell at the airport who's from Iceland. And then of course we all speak is that so? That is so interesting.
Now I can tell also, like when you're traveling and you see people grouping up close to the gates and like, okay, yeah, they're from Iceland. Yeah, there's just something that
yeah, see, but that's so I love it. It's just you're unique, and you need to cater to that unique need, and you need to respect that and make that a core part of your comms, but also how you treat your customers.
And exactly, the language, the Icelandic language is such a big part of the Icelandic identity. So it's just it's just a crucial element for any business in Iceland to have.
And speaking of that, what do businesses lose when they fail to do that? We already touched on that. If you at worst case, you seriously piss people off, excuse my French. So they will go fly somebody else, right?
Yeah. But well, maybe we could turn this question around a bit and maybe focus on the win. Like, what do businesses win if they localize? And that can be many things, like from increased market share or to greater trust and loyalty. So, for example, if you're talking only in one language to a multilingual region, let's call it, for example, Europe, where many languages are spoken throughout different countries. you are very likely to lose out on all the customers who prefer to conduct their business in their language. And I think that's a big loss. It can be a huge market share. Otherwise, you can just imagine if you become an authority to your customers when you provide reliable information in their language. In a certain way, you become an expert in your field on the subject matter for your customers in their language. And maybe I'll end this on a more not a kind of a philosophical note. How many airlines do you think talk about travels in the North Atlantic, like Iceland or Greenland, in Spanish or French, for example? Who will be the expert in this?
Yeah, I'm hard pressed. I would not have an answer for you, other than you guys, of course. But
exactly, yeah. So I think there's an opportunity to build that authority just for that local market that might be interested in our region, which is North Atlantic. This is where we specialize.
Yes, absolutely. Let's look at the next slide, please. That gives us an overview of all the languages that you
I think
need to take into account, in a sense, right?
Yeah, so since I mentioned Icelandair, maybe just a little bit more information about Icelandair, as maybe not everyone is familiar with the airline. So Icelandair is the flag carrier of Iceland, and our unique geographical location in the North Atlantic is what largely defines our business model. We operate hub and spoke model for transatlantic flights connecting North America and Europe via Iceland. Our hub and home is in Keflavik Airport in Iceland, from where we fly to over 40 destinations in Europe and North America. And we also operate flights to Greenland, and we fly domestically within Iceland. So yeah, Iceland is always at the core of everything we do.
Yes.
A fun fact is that during the first 3 quarters of this year, we already had over 4 million passengers traveling with us, mainly between North America and Europe. And if we put it into a context that there are only the whole population of Iceland is just under 400,000, so these are huge numbers for us. But I think this makes it pretty clear that our customers speak different languages. Yes. And being an international airline, we have to be a multilingual airline too.
Wow, just let that sink in for a moment. You have 400,000 people.
Roughly, we're getting there. Not yet, but 4 million customers. So I think, that is tenfold, isn't it?
Yes, 10x. That's super impressive.
Yeah.
Wow.
So now, if we just take a look at at what Icelandair digital experience is about, our vision is that we bring the spirit of Iceland to the world, and that is part of our also digital experience that we strive to create, and no matter where in the customer journey you are. Our digital experience highly focuses on 3 phases. That is the inspiration, whether we're trying to inspire you to either come to Iceland or fly with us, either to Europe or North America, or whether you're already booking a flight with us, a flight only or a package deal in our booking engine, or whether you need any support, whether it's already, if you have a flight with us and maybe you're in a pre-flight phase or are already in your travels or need some post-flight support. We also want to convey that same message and keep it consistent. So there are 2 essential channels for that we use, and that is our website and our app. So at the moment, our website has 12 languages and 17 locales, and our app is available in 2 languages, 2 locales, but we have a plan on our roadmap to increase that number also. So that's really exciting. Basically our content launch strategy is that the very base for everything is English, the US English and Icelandic. These are 2 our most crucial markets, but then also we extend it to the other markets, and we as you can see, mostly English-speaking markets, and then a whole bunch of European languages, as well as French Canadian on the North American side.
So you even distinguish between Swiss German and German. I so appreciate that. But that is already, I can tell that is very you're paying extra caution.
We're paying attention to that, definitely, but also having different locales helps us with different currencies, different measurements, time formats, and so on.
Yes.
So, which is also really important. But then, some might question, like, why pay attention to language, considering how English is widespread today? Like, everyone seems to speak English, and like, why isn't just enough having, all the information in English and save on the translation and localization and all that? But I think we have a few good reasons for that. And firstly, it's probably clear communication across our markets. That even though many of our customers in Europe understand English, and we cannot assume that everyone does so, and for us, every customer is important. So, we want to make sure that our information about our services, products, our terms and conditions, our support information is available and in the language that our customers understand, and leave no room for misinterpretation. Also, our website visitors' language skills might differ depending on their age or market. So also we want to rule out that element and just, provide information that is accessible for them. Also, compliance is really important, that as an airline, we have to comply with national requirements of the markets we operate in, and language is no exception here. Like, for example, in some markets, we might have a bit more of a leeway. Like in Scandinavia, we might be able to introduce new products without localizing information about them in the local language, while, for example, in other markets, I will mention here maybe Germany or France or even Canada, where you cannot really get away without having that content in the local language. So that would be German, French, or French Canadian. Compliance is really important. And then, of course, we have the cultural element in it, and the benefit of localizing is that we can adapt our content to every market. And but this, of course, needs to be carried out mindfully, as this element is really, really sensitive, as language plays, as I mentioned, really important role in our customers' cultural identity. And here I'd like to return to Iceland again, that our market, home market, is really sensitive around language, and we get, as an airline, we get a lot of scrutiny of how we use Icelandic, how we write it. So it has to be 100% spot on. Simply not providing our home market with Icelandic content is just not an option. So this is where we can play on that cultural element. And then, of course, it's when translating. So it's not enough only to translate, but we have to be really mindful about local customs and understand the specifics and elements that are important, like certain phraseology or social conventions and cultural norms, because if carried out in a wrong way, you can easily send a message to your customers, a message that you do not want to send in any way. It has to be carefully localized.
Yes, it's such a sensitive topic, and we had plenty of conversations about elves, because that is a huge thing, but only in Iceland, right? It's like the rest of the world watches and is part amazed and part, I don't know what you're doing. So, it's probably something that resonates super well with the Icelandic audience, but, the Spain market is probably going to go, excuse me, what?
Exactly, what else? So exactly, you might just want to find something that talks to the Spanish audience. Yes. in a similar way.
Yes, absolutely. Well, let's take a look at how your localization transformation, what a what a
Yeah.
word to say, but how that actually went. And I know you started out in a pretty dark place, let's face it. Tell us a little bit about how it was and where you are now and how you got there.
Yeah, so I think, well, I don't have them around me, but my ex-colleagues probably would tell you, some some more elaborate stories, or let's call it maybe even sagas about about the content turbulence that they were facing. But I joined the company when this shift was taking place. So I got moving towards a smooth sailing, let's call it so. But from all the stories that I know and the, let's say, in-house evidence that I've seen, the whole process was really not efficient. It was really heavily spreadsheet based. So as we mentioned earlier, if translation was needed, every time it was needed, they had to create an Excel spreadsheet and copy every sentence into every single cell. So just imagine a big a document, how big it would be if you have like a lengthy terms and conditions document that needs to be translated into 12 languages and then maybe localized into more. So how time consuming that was, and a lot of it was copy paste based, and that leaves a lot of room for human error and just prone to mistake, and not to talk about the time that goes into doing that. So yeah, it was just not smooth at all. And in general, the content updates were so complicated, and we would always have to involve developers for even the smallest content updates. So that was just a smooth digital experience was just a far-fetched dream that seems so far away. But things changed once we decided to transition from our legacy CMS towards a headless CMS and adapt that composable mindset. And I'm happy to say that today we have quite a smooth sailing as our translation process is streamlined. It is we have a complete control of it, and submitting content for translations is a few mouse clicks away, and then we can have a clear overview where in the process we are. We can track our translations, we can see the progress, we get notified when translations are back, and no bye copy paste, bye endless copy paste. So that's a big win. Also, just talking about the content updates, we have a very easy version control, and we see all the content history. So rollback is almost effortless. We can go back and forth, and if we need to take a deeper look at what might have gone wrong, or just for the sake of comparison, that is really easy. And then of course there are many functions that allow us to publish a lot of content across many languages at once, like just with a few mouse clicks, and that is bulk updating across different languages over various web pages and on different environments, as we have development, staging, and production environment, and a lot of time can go into that. But yeah, I think we've cut drastically on the time it takes to process our content.
And let's yeah, sorry. Yeah, let's spend a moment on version control, or what you just talked about with easy rollback, because I know that you give people an incredible amount of freedom. Almost everybody is allowed to do almost everything. Is that right?
Yes, we have empowered our content editors, and we want them to be independent and do not rely on other resources in order for tasks to be carried out and for content to be put out there for our customers. So yeah, we put trust in our employees, and we enable them by giving right access, right tools to create, and of course come back to us, to the core content team, and get guidance and assistance when needed. But yeah, empowerment, I think, would be the key word in this context.
That's fantastic. I love it, because so many times we get the opposite question. Right? It's like, how can I keep control? What do I do if my employee breaks everything?
Yeah, yeah, of course, and I think there should be some restrictions because there are elements that we don't want to deploy, and maybe there has to be some amount of control, but at the same time, there's a lot of freedom.
I love it because you trust people to do the right thing, or come to you for help if they don't know what to do. So that really is brilliant and how it should be.
Yeah, and I think we have succeeded in creating that kind of culture around working with content. So that's great.
It really is. And let's take a quick look again at just how many languages you're servicing.
Yeah, so
12 languages total, 17 locales. That's really amazing.
Yeah, sort of recap. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 12 languages, 17 locales. At the moment, as I said, we have a streamlined translation process, which actually leaves out most of the manual work and frees up but quite some time for our more creative aspects of work, like brainstorming or engaging in more creative campaigns. So that's always nice, not to be stuck with the manual tasks, but have some time for creativity, especially for the content team. Also, I'd like to mention our translation agency here, as we have a really good relationship with our translation agency that's based in the UK. They have integrated their workflow into our CMS, so that's a huge win, and they work hand in hand with us, making sure that the content translation process is seamless and there are no bugs. And if any hiccups come up, they are really fast to jump on and fix that. So I think that is also really important if you are thinking of going on to this localization journey. Have a reliable translation agency that you will partner up with, and this might be also interesting. I think it's, I dare to say, unique. Maybe it's not, but for us, we have created an internal review process where we have included people who work for Icelandair, and they are very familiar with our products, with our tone of voice, with our services, and the way we want Icelandair to come across of. But at the same time, they are native speakers of all these languages that we translate. So they ensure that our content is not just translated, that it is localized, that it hits the right tones, that it is in line with our customer expectations. And I think this is the extra value that we and the privilege that we have being an international airline and having the great pool of talent.
And that you're actually tapping into that. Well, for one, the technology ahead of CMS like Contentstack API first allows you to integrate someone like your translation agency seamlessly, but then you go the extra mile, and it's not just AI that does your translations. It is actual people with actual sentiment and feelings, and making sure that you're not just translating, but truly localizing.
Exactly, yeah. Content has to be written by people for people. I think that is what we still believe in. Although AI is a huge help and can be a great tool, but we try to combine the good of both.
The best of all worlds. Love it.
Yes.
Let's talk about your content center of excellence for a moment, because we've sort of scratched the surface, but I'm sure some people are wondering what is that all about? So what is it all about?
First and foremost, I think our content team can be seen as like a sort of a guiding light and support for the other teams that also work with content and also within our CMS. So, for example, if marketing managers for specific markets reach out to us if they need our specialized expertise or creative input into their work, we are there to help them. Also, we as the Center of Excellence, we create best practices for our company on how to implement and maintain our content strategy across the board. We also have become a certain authority within the company regarding our tone of voice, and we ensure that it is maintained accordingly across various channels. We often brief other stakeholders or our agents who have a more direct contact with our customers about how to use the tone of voice seamlessly to ensure that it is that we get the message consistently across different stages of the customer journey. We also, I think, by being the center of excellence, have a profound understanding of our content and how much of it we have, the way it is organized, and if we see any product changes, any updates, or any new developments coming up, we can almost immediately sense the implications that these changes will have, and we can jump on that opportunity and initiate any needed actions to ensure that that everything gets aligned. So yeah, I don't know if this answers the question, but maybe these would be the key points.
No, for sure. For sure. And I love that, we talk about centers of excellence many times in a technical sense, a center of excellence for this specific product or this specific niche, but content is also something that should be core to your strategy. And if you have a go-to team that is your center of excellence, you're going to produce better results across the board, and then that will make the whole company more successful.
Definitely. And maybe here I would mention that, for example, our content team functions as a core unit that looks after our content on various digital channels as a whole. But at the same time, every team member works cross-functionally, and that is being part of so-called product teams. So, for example, we have a flight booking engine product team, package booking engine product team, Icelandair app product team. And this means that specific products and focus areas get that dedicated expertise, while all content team members have easy access to so-called peer support and assistance from one another. And this just facilitates ideation, cross-checks, and in general improves the information flow within the company.
That is beautiful, because that's so many times such a problem, right? The non-communication or the dependency that turns into frustration because you don't feel like you get the support that you need.
Or like everyone is working in their little silos, and that works against you at the end.
Absolutely. Let's look at the whole topic from a customer lens one more time. How does content orchestration really help you to maximize customer engagement? So having the right pieces in place at the right time and the right place, how important is that for you?
I think that is that's super important. But and here I think I would like to focus mostly on the personalized experience, as content orchestration enables you to create that personalized content based on the customer data you might have or any insights that you have within the company. And this means that we can deliver the right information to our customer at the right time. In other words, when they actually need it. So, for example, if you're booking a flight with us, or you just came to our website to shop around, and if, let's say, based on your location, if we know your preferred gateway, we can already provide you with relevant offers from the airports that you might be flying from, and this might lead you to booking a flight with us. Or if, let's say, you have already booked a flight with us, and based on your profile, we can customize the information that is relevant to you at this particular stage. So maybe already you are thinking about the flight date, and maybe want to make your flight experience a bit more fun, or just enhance it by purchasing any extra services. We can display that to you where relevant on our website or within the flow that you are in. Or maybe you are already thinking about your destination and what you will do there, and maybe we can showcase you some tours or activities you might want to purchase. So exactly, we can customize and make that tailored content available to you when you need it. In other words, proper content orchestration will help to maintain our customers engaged and maybe filter out those elements of content that otherwise could be perceived as excessive or irrelevant. So if we are, showcasing you tours at your destination before you even get there, maybe that's not timely. But once you've purchased it, that becomes more topical.
Oh, and you know what? I'm smiling because from personal experience, the number of shitty emails I've gotten from other airlines than Icelandair that, had nothing to do, clearly had outdated information as the base, and then suggested things to me that made no sense, none. And your
Exactly.
immediate reaction is,
why
am I flying with you again? This is not going to go well. Right?
Hopefully, hopefully that wasn't the case for you, but it is about learning about your customer and then adapting to their needs. So
absolutely. And I'm the first
personal
person to
perception.
buy the things that you suggest to me if they are the right fit. So, the second you, by the third time we're flying together and oh, this is what Jasmine, sort of gravitates to, I'd be happy to, if I think we all want personalization, but it needs to be done well. What nobody wants is something that is generic and you can spot it from a difference, right?
For sure, that's why it's important to properly orchestrate your content.
Yeah, yeah. I see. We just made it. I think we drove the point home.
Nice.
Let's jump into key takeaways. We're nearing the end of the time that we've allotted for this, but we're really good in time. Key takeaways from your point of view on how to do this.
Yeah, let's see. So I think content delivery will always be fast and streamlined if your CMS architecture is clear and your content editors have relevant access. They don't need to be overly tech savvy to make website updates. Then to avoid double handling and any inefficiencies, involve your content team in your projects from the very beginning, whether we're talking about a technical CMS setup or even a sales campaign. Never forget your content people. They need time to work on their stuff. Then ensure that the content team has given their blessing before any content goes live. Is it a mistypo or just like a wrong message? It never looks good. So yeah, make sure that your content people have proved it. Also, empowerment. Make sure that your content editors have the needed permission and are confident in utilizing the tool that they have between their hands. Make sure that they understand that what impact they can have and where it can get you. And maybe lastly, make sure that your CMS works for you and facilitates your daily work. If your CMS doesn't work for you, be vocal about it. Talk to your provider, to your tech provider about the issues you might be having, and look for solutions to make sure that you reach your goals. If
absolutely.
your legacy CMS doesn't work for you, go for something else.
Yeah, fully agree. Couldn't agree more. That's why Contentstack has its care without compromise program, because we care. And we're the happiest if you come to us and say, hey, this isn't quite working the way we thought it would. Can we figure it out? And that's
we've done that. We've done that at several occasions, and that is just so great to be able to have that conversation and work on iterations. That helps you to improve your product, but also returns value to us. So that's an amazing feature.
Win-win situation. Those are the ones that we like. Final piece of advice, really, for the people in the audience for today. Key considerations before you start, because you've now been on a journey, you're still on a journey, but you've, you have quite a bit of experience in how to get from painful spreadsheet world to better world over here. The things that you wish you had known before you got going, the things you would tell people here that are, just getting ready to get going.
I think it's just, to embrace the opportunity and be ready to learn. Like everything is a learning curve, and there will be ups and downs. But I think if you have an open mind and you have a certain goal, it's just go for it and try. And also don't be afraid to fail, but then learn from it. Everything is a learning curve, and also, I'm not saying that everything we do is perfect, but we work in iterations. We see what's working, what's performing well, what's not, what needs to be improved. We take a step back, we iterate, we roll it out, and that's how everything keeps on moving. It's just about not staying on a standstill and in one place. I think maybe that's one of the key points. Embrace the opportunity.
Oh, I love it. And it really is about small steps, because I think that's a common misconception that you have to do the big unveil and you have to do everything from scratch, throw out the old and bring in the new. And it's not that. That's how it used to be, but that's no longer the best way of doing it.
Exactly,
is
just taking one step at a time, and in smaller bits. That's how break down the rock into smaller pebbles. And
Yes, and fail fast. I love that, and I know that you really foster that culture of, it's okay. It's not just okay. It's actually, encouraged to make mistakes if you learn from them.
if you
That
learn
is,
from them,
yes, and then we're all better off because now we have action produces information.
oh yeah,
So the
yeah,
second you do something, that'll give you clarity on whether that's a thing you want to keep doing or something that you don't want to do.
exactly. And do not settle. Look for for how to improve. It's just all about agility and adapting. And
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, we got 2 minutes left, which is probably just
wow,
enough to answer a question. I'm
where
sorry,
did the time
Marina.
go?
That's
What?
quite all right. First and foremost, thank you so much to both of our speakers. This has been such a great conversation. I appreciate both of your perspectives. I am going to choose my favorite question, and I apologize in advance if we don't get to your question. You attendees are always welcome to reach out to our team, and we're more than happy to help. But we'll just take this one. How do you measure the effectiveness or success of your content strategy?
Mm.
Oh, that's an interesting one. But maybe I think you can quite soon see after you roll out the change, possibly the reduction in your backlog issues and faster delivery rates for your translations. If there's a positive change in that, I think that can already be counted as a win and as a success, as well as there should be an improvement in in how easy it is to deliver the content and how easy it is to publish and update. And probably this is what your content editors will come and tell you, that okay, this is working, this is the track we want to go down. So yeah, these maybe these would be my key points.
Great. Anything to add, Jasmine?
If we want to drill it down to KPI level, I think there is, a few metrics that you can look at. One is reach, notoriously hard to measure. Duration of stay and engagement with the content is another that I would definitely always look at, because, no use if people start looking at something but then they leave because it's not the right tone, or it's not the right sentiment, or it's just not right for them. So
Sure.
those sorts of engagement rates that are measurable on websites is certainly a data point where I would start looking.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, once again, thank you both for such a compelling conversation. We're so grateful for your time, and thank you to all of our great attendees. Just a reminder, we will be sending out the recording following this webinar. I hope you all continue to have a wonderful day. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.